It is January 29th, 2013. We are looking at our first chapter of economics for the second semester. And the question up there on the board is, what is economics? Okay, so that's what we're going to go through today. We're going to kind of do a basic overview. This chapter shouldn't take us too long to complete. At most, it should take us a week and a half. And that includes PowerPoints, lessons, tests, no project. Then we can move on to the next one where we look at supply and demand. All right, so let's try to get through this. All right, the first section of chapter 1 is an economic way of thinking. What does that mean? Well, we look at economics. I know you think this is funny, Henry, but let's try to pay attention to this. Economics. Economics is the study of the choices that people make to satisfy their needs and wants. Before I go any further, do we know what a difference is between a need and a want? What is a need, Henry?
Well, a need has to do with essential stuff such as shelter, food,
Agua.
water.
Yes, water. All right. What are wants?
Want is something that we don't need, but we want. It's something that it's like a luxury.
It's everything else.
Everything else.
All right? So economics studies the choices that people make when it comes to those needs and wants. Okay, and there's going to be a bunch of terms that are attached to this, but we'll get into it. That's why we do those content vocabulary things. Two types of economics. There's microeconomics. Micro is the root word of that entire thing. What does micro mean? Large or small? So microeconomics just studies households, companies, and individual markets. Households, companies, individual markets. Macroeconomics examines an entire economy being the nation's economy. All right? Uh, so moving on. Henry, can you cut it out? Yeah. Moving on. Economic decisions. Okay. Remember, we're looking at what kind of choices people make when it comes to their needs and wants, right? That's what we study economics. Well, people make decisions. They make economic decisions. Part of the equation are consumers. Consumers are you and I. We go out, we buy something, we are then considered a consumer, right? Is that right? Everyone clear on that? You and I we're all consumers. We all buy things. The shoes on your feet, the pants on your legs, the sweater over your top torso, the earrings you're wearing if you're a girl, the glasses I'm wearing. These are all things that I consume, that I buy. We'll get to that. Consumers decide to buy things. You buy things. Producers make things for consumers to buy. Does that make sense? Producers make things for consumers to buy. Okay. Goods are physical objects. I'm just going through a list here of some certain words that we want to make sure we understand. Goods are physical objects, like the shoes, like your hats, like your glasses, like your watches. Services are different. Those are actions and or activities that are performed for a fee. Can you give me an example of a service? Henry. Yes, a cab driver provides a service. Lawyers provide a service. Jackie says I look like a McDonald's employee with his headphones on, so employees, right? We call it the food service industry for a reason, right? They not only provide you with a good, but they provide you with a service. They cook, they make, they prepare, and then serve you your food. Does that make sense? So that is a service as well. And I think that's where we can use customers at times, is when you're going in looking for a service. You provide a service for a customer or a consumer. So essentially they are the same thing, right? But not necessarily always. Because you can consume things without having to go somewhere to get it, right? Or you don't have to be a consumer or a customer, right? Because I could just trade you my pen for your eraser. Right? And that's consuming something. All right, so economic resources. A resource is anything that people use to make or obtain what they want. Anything that they use to make or obtain what they want. The clothes on your back, right? There's a certain resource that is used, or certain resources used to make this. It could be cotton. When we think about resources, what we're thinking about are factors of production. There's 4 factors of production. Okay, what is a factor of production? Those things that help us produce things. Production, produce. Production, produce. Same thing. All right. And there's 4 factors that go into it. The first one is natural resources. All right. Items provided by nature that can be used to produce goods and to provide services. So one of the factors of production are natural resources. What is an example of a natural resource? Who said that?
Meat,
Tree,
oil,
oil. What else?
wood,
Huh?
metal,
Mm-hmm. Specifically, there's a certain thing like coal, right? We make metal, right? And where do we make metal from?
stone,
Iron and ore, right? You make steel from that. You got that, Eddie? So the natural resources are iron and ore, not steel. Steel is not a natural resource. Wood, water, cotton, methane, oil, coal. Those are all natural resources that we use to make other things. Like if we went and looked and set and actually someone videotaped and documented what it took to make these desks, it'd be pretty interesting.
there'd be a
The
lot.
natural resources. What? I think this is wood. All right, the next factor of production, something else that goes into producing things, is human resources. We have natural resources. You understand what natural resources are? Oil, coal, things that come from the earth. Does that make sense? Is that better? Yeah. Things that come from the earth are natural resources. Okay, human resources. Yes, we can use potato. Corn. That's another one. All right, moving on. Human resources. Human resources is the human effort put into production. You work at a factory, you put in a certain amount of work to create different types of products or to manufacture different types of products. So in order to produce things, you need natural resources. You also need human resources. Okay, it's pretty clear what human resources are. It's just that human capital that's put into creating things. The next one is capital resources. These are manufactured materials used to create products. When we think of capital, a lot of times what people think of is money. Right? In order to produce something, you have to have money. Why? You have to have the money to buy the wood. You have to have the money to buy the steel. You have to have the money to buy cotton. Because it's not free, is it? It's not. You also need a building to make these things,
And machinery.
right? And machinery to make these things. If Leah was going to go out and mass produce her wallets, she'd need a space to do it, which means it's going to cost money, which means she's got to rent that space. She's going to have to buy some machines that help her, and then she's going to have to buy the supplies as well. So it takes money, tools, and buildings.
And some people to
That's all what we call capital resources. 2 types. You have consumer goods and technology are also part of capital resources. Um, and finally, the last one is entrepreneurship. Someone has to be able to someone has to have the skills required to start a new business or create a new product. What is an entrepreneur? If you worked or sold anything at the boutique, you were considered an entrepreneur. Simple enough, right? You're an entrepreneur if you sold anything at the
What if
boutique.
you're in a band? Isn't that kind of an entrepreneur?
Yeah, yes, you could say that you are an entrepreneur. It depends if you're selling your service, right? Or if you get paid for your service. Then you'd be considered an entrepreneur, right?
So that guy that
Yes, even drug dealers can be considered entrepreneurs. Mostly though, what we think about entrepreneurs are those people that go on to that Shark Tank show, right? They have some sort of new invention or new business idea that they want to present to people. Um, Therefore, they're considered entrepreneurs.
What do you need to become a successful entrepreneur?
A successful business idea and someone willing to put money into you.
So an investor?
hmm Why do those? So going on to this, the fact we'll talk about this a little bit more. The factors of production. Just know that we have natural resources, human resources, capital resources, and entrepreneurship. Four factors of production. Trust me, you want to remember that. Four factors of production, because we're gonna test you on that a little bit later. All right. So when those people go on the Shark Tank and ask for money,
What were the four factors on the business side?
natural resources, human resources, capital resources, and then entrepreneurship are the four factors of production. Four things you need in order to be able to produce goods and
Natural,
services. Natural resources,
human resources.
yeah,
What else?
capital resources. The other two are up here: capital resources and entrepreneurship. So when those people go onto the Shark Tank and they're asking for money, they are asking for this right here. This, and they're also asking for help in this entrepreneurship. Okay? They've gone as far as they could. They had a novel idea or a great idea or a lot of willpower or a great patent. Okay? They could have any of those. They needed more money and more. They need more money and more expertise to make their brand or their idea bigger or come to real fruition. A patent, you have to file it through the Chamber of Commerce, I believe.
Not long.
Would have
It's
to
a
be
long process.
And you should get a lawyer to do it.
Yeah, you don't want to do it on your own. Um, so again, those are the reasons that those people go on to the Shark Tank is they really just need more money. They need more money to expand. They need more expertise in entrepreneurship. They're going to need more capital. Right? You see some people go on there with different clothing ideas, right? And someone like that guy Damon, right? The one who started Fubu. What does he say? I can give you the factory, I can give you the shipping, I can give you the billing, and I can give you the invoices and all that stuff. It's just because he already has it. He already has all the capital resources. Right? That's why someone who has a clothing brand would go onto the show and identify him because he has all the capital resources they need. He doesn't have to go out and do his own. Right? So these are stuff that you're going to have to keep in mind, especially the four factors of production. Keep those things in mind not only for the test, but when you're creating your own business. Okay, keep that in mind. You want to try to make this as cheap as possible. All right, as least the less expensive it is, the better off you're going to be, because this is where all your operating costs are going to come in, right? Because you're going to be working for free when you start your business. You're basically working for free. You're trying to get your business started. You're probably going to lose money, right? But you want to keep this as low as possible to make sure that you're not losing as much, that you don't lose as much money. If you can keep your capital resources down, you should be okay. So last year, for just to end this real quick before you guys go on to your questions. Last year, let's see, who was it? Matt created a specific game controller, a universal game controller. They already have them, but his idea was to have a little bit different additions and modifications to it or whatever. Right, it could work for the Xbox, a PlayStation 3, and whatever consoles that you have. I think it could even work for. He wanted it to be able to hook up to PCs. You know, you can hook up your PC to your TV. How have it work for that as well?